Everyone tells you to budget. Your parents budget. Financial advisors budget. Personal finance accounts on TikTok are constantly promoting budgets. But millennials tried it and decided it was the worst advice they ever followed. And honestly, they're kind of right. Hey, before we dive in, I gotta be clear about something. I'm not a financial advisor. Everything you're about to hear is purely educational content. Here's the thing about budgeting that nobody wants to admit. Budgeting doesn't work for most people. It's not because people lack discipline. It's because budgeting is based on a set of assumptions that are completely wrong for how people actually live. Traditional budgeting is designed for a stable life. You have a steady salary. Your expenses are predictable. You know exactly how much you'll spend on groceries, rent, utilities. Everything is linear. Everything is predictable. But millennials don't have stable lives. They have gig work, freelance income, contract positions. 1 month you make $4,000. The next month you make $2,500. Your expenses aren't predictable either. Your car breaks down, medical bills hit, unexpected housing costs pop up. So you sit down to budget based on average income. You allocate money to different categories. You promise yourself you'll stick to it. And then real life happens. Your actual income is different. Your actual expenses are wildly different. Now you're off budget and feeling like a failure for breaking your own rules. This is why millennials hate budgeting. It feels like setting yourself up to fail. But here's the deeper issue. Budgeting is about restriction. It's about telling yourself no. No, you can't go out to eat. No, you can't buy that thing. No, you can't do this. It's all negation. And for a generation that's already been told no their entire lives, that's exhausting. Your student loans told you no. Housing prices told you no. The job market told you no. Budgeting feels like another thing telling you no. So most millennials reject it entirely. They decide budgeting is garbage and they just spend money without thinking about it, which leads to the paycheck to paycheck cycle, which leads to debt, which leads to stress. But the problem isn't budgeting itself. The problem is the way budgeting is being taught. Traditional budgeting says, figure out your income, subtract your fixed expenses, then divide what's left into categories. Groceries get $300. Entertainment gets $100. Savings gets $50. That's your budget. But this assumes you have willpower. This assumes you can stick to arbitrary numbers. This assumes you'll say no to yourself when you want something. Most people can't do that, especially millennials who have gotten used to just buying things on credit because they'll figure it out later. So instead of traditional budgeting, there's a completely different approach that actually works. It's called pay yourself first. Here's how it works. You get paid immediately, automatically. Money goes to savings before you even see it. Then you live on what's left. You don't budget what's left, you just spend it. This completely flips the script. Instead of restricting yourself, you're automating abundance. Instead of saying no to things, you're just living normally with a smaller paycheck. On a $4,000 monthly income, you automatically move $400 to savings. Your paycheck feels like $3,600. That's the money you have to live on. You spend what you want. You go out, you buy things. You don't feel restricted because you're not restricting anything. But at the end of the month, you've got $400 more in savings. And you didn't have to white knuckle your way through a budget to get there. The difference between this and traditional budgeting is psychological. Traditional budgeting is saying, here's how much you can spend. Pay yourself first is saying, here's how much you're going to save, figure out the rest. One feels restrictive, one feels automatic. This is why millennials actually succeed with pay yourself first, but fail with traditional budgeting. It aligns with how they think, and it doesn't ask them to have more willpower than they actually have. But here's the thing that makes this even more powerful. You can increase it automatically. Every time you get a raise, you increase your automatic savings by half the raise amount. You got a $200 a month raise. Your savings goes up by $100. Your take home only goes up by $100. You don't notice the $100 increase in take home, so you don't spend it. But that $100 starts compounding immediately. Over your career, you can end up saving 30-40% of your income without ever feeling like you sacrificed anything. Without ever sitting down with a spreadsheet and forcing yourself to stick to numbers. This is how wealthy people do it. They don't budget, they automate savings, and then live on what's left. And for millennials specifically, this works because it doesn't require discipline. It requires one decision. One time you set up the automation. Then it just happens. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to say no to yourself. You don't have to white knuckle through restrictions. You just spend money guilt-free because you already saved what you needed to save. This is why millennials hate budgeting, but would actually love this approach if they knew about it. It's not about restriction. It's about automation. And automation is way more powerful than willpower ever could be. If you want to understand the actual systems that work for building wealth instead of the advice that makes you feel like a failure, hit subscribe because budgeting isn't broken. The way it's being taught is broken.